Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 8 of Plead Your Case. I'm your host, Benicio. Today we're going to be talking about the halfway point of the NFL season along with the trade deadline. Then we're going to be getting to the NFL Pick'em. And then finally, we're going to be giving an NBA breakdown of the early season. So don't go anywhere.
Hey there, sports fans. You're watching another episode of Waynesburg University Community Television's only national sports debate show, Plead Your Case. Whether you're a diehard fan or a casual observer, get ready to join us every week as we dive deep into current pressing sports topics. Our panelists dissect every angle, every scenario, and every statistic to influence their fiery takes.
What has he done without Tom Brady?
And spirited arguments.
No, listen, Bowtie. Have you ever played Foursquare? No, you were too old to play Foursquare.
There will be no argument unexplored, and every take will be under review.
After reviewing the play...
Here in the Waynesburg University Communication Department, we believe in heated debates with a touch of friendly competition, which is why we also have a fresh 5 and 5 mini segment that you won't want to miss.
I don't think a pitcher is breaking Cy Young's wins record of 511.
You Google America's team and what do you get? You get the...
So sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious sports chat. It is time to plead your case.
Welcome back to Plead Your Case. On the day this is being recorded is currently the last day before the trade deadline in the NFL. We saw Zadarius Smith find a new home today with the Detroit Lions, and the Bengals also acquiring Khalil Herbert for a 7th-round pick, and then the Saints traded away Marshawn Lattimore to the Commanders, and the Steelers got both Mike Williams and Preston Smith. And then right before this, we started recording, Tre'Davious White got traded away for a 2027 7th-round pick for a 2026 7th-round pick to the Ravens. So of those trades I just mentioned, who would you say is the biggest winner of today? We'll start with you, Brett.
Well, if you look at an individual, like a person, the biggest winner today for me is Zadarius Smith because his season totally flips. He goes from a team in the bottom of the AFC to a team atop the NFC, a contender, the Detroit Lions, and he has a chance to start with Aiden Hutchinson, their star pass rusher, going down. So Zadarius Smith now gets a chance to contend for a Super Bowl. But if we're looking at an overall team that won the deadline today, I think you could consider the Washington Commanders with their splash move landing Marshawn Lattimore, having to give up a 3rd-round pick. Lattimore has been injured a little bit this year, so this is kind of a risk, but it's not like you're giving up a 1st or a 2nd. It's just a 3rd, and Lattimore has proven himself to be one of the top corners in the league, so if he can gel with these Commanders this year, they could truly be special as well, as they're one of the top teams right now in the NFC.
No, I completely agree with what Brett said. I think the Commanders won it as a team, getting Lattimore. We had to get that number 1 corner. The Commanders had to solidify the number 1 corners, and I think they did that very well. Player-wise, for me, I mean, like you said, there's not really much you can say. I mean, I think it is Zadarius Smith as well, kind of sliding into that role, that vacant role of Aiden Hutchinson. I think it's a great pickup by the Lions, so I think those are the picks I'd go with.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the trades today, it seems like everyone was kind of winners, especially with the Saints trading away Marshawn Lattimore. The Commanders were a team that they were desperately in need of kind of a number 1 corner, someone that could lock down those number 1 receivers. And then if you look at it for the Steelers-wise, Steelers have been in desperate need of getting a wide receiver all year long. It seems like they've kind of been in trade talks with the top guys, and then they kind of settled for Mike Williams, but him complementing George Pickens will be a good role. But with teams getting the rich got richer, with teams like the Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens all adding a star wide receiver to their core. But who would you say has improved the most throughout the trade deadline? We'll start with you.
Yeah, so for me, I think a team that has improved the most, I got it between the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like the Steelers, they picked up Mike Williams, also got Preston Smith as a depth piece on defense, and then the Ravens picking up Tre'Davious White as a corner, and then they picked up Deontay Johnson a couple weeks ago. They are a Super Bowl contender. They just beat the brakes off the Denver Broncos 41-10 this past Sunday. So I think those two teams are very much winners of the trade deadline. They got the pieces they needed. Now they got to work off of the pieces they have and hopefully build to compete in the playoffs and maybe make a Super Bowl run as well.
Give me the Kansas City Chiefs for biggest improvers this deadline, and I think we saw that on Monday Night Football this past week, guys. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is still an elite receiver. That we saw that last night, and this is the best quarterback he's ever had to get him the ball, Patrick Mahomes. We saw him catch passes from guys like Will Levis, Mason Rudolph. Going from them to going to Patrick Mahomes could change Hopkins' career, and I mean, he could get a ring this year. He very well could, and this Chiefs team is dangerous. They're still undefeated, acquiring one of the best receivers of the 2010s probably earlier in the week, and I mean it was an amazing move by the Chiefs to go out and get Hopkins, and after his second game now he truly showed that he still has what it takes even at an old age. So I would take the Chiefs as my biggest winner.
Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, and Josh Allen currently lead the MVP race in the NFL. Of those guys mentioned, are you guys kind of putting those guys in the MVP conversation, or who's your top guy right now? We'll start with you, Wyatt.
Yeah, so I kind of narrowed it down between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I think both of them have been competing on a very, very high level. Jackson has thrown for 2,374 yards, 20 touchdowns, while also rushing for 505 yards and 2 touchdowns. Allen has very similar stats in throwing for 2,001 yards, 17 touchdowns, only rushing for 211 yards and 2 touchdowns. So as of right now, I think Lamar Jackson is the clear-cut favorite to win MVP. It would be his third, and he would win it in back-to-back years, obviously winning it last year and then winning it back in 2019. But as of right now, I have Lamar Jackson winning it, but I do see Josh Allen possibly bringing it back and winning it in the back half of the season.
I think you have to look at the word valuable. I don't think Jared Goff is as valuable to his team as guys like Lamar and Josh Allen, because Josh Allen has elite pass catchers, whereas Josh Allen and Lamar really don't, if you think about it. Neither Lamar or Allen really have that 1-2 punch like a Jamar T. Higgins or A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. So, in matter of fact, Allen lost his top 2 receivers this past offseason. He lost Stephon Diggs. He lost Gabe Davis. And Allen, he's putting up these numbers with the number 1 receiver being Khalil Shakir until a couple weeks ago when they traded for Amari Cooper, obviously. Another great deadline move there. But I think this is kind of reminiscent of the season Mahomes had in 2022, the season Josh Allen's putting up right now, because that was the year that Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs went on to win the Super Bowl that year. I think the Bills could very much do that this year, and I have Allen as my number 1 MVP pick right now all the way.
Christian McCaffrey's been out all season, and he's kind of been a guy that he's been a non-quarterback that's kind of been up for that MVP conversation. I know we saw Tyreek Hill last season, but are there anybody that you think can take home the award that's not a quarterback this season? I'll start with you, Brett.
The only one you could even consider for me is Derrick Henry, and I think he would have to do something truly special to even really be considered like breaking the 2,000-yard mark, because that's what the last non-MVP QB did. That was Adrian Peterson in 2012. He came within a couple yards of breaking the all-time rushing record in a single season. And Tyreek Hill last year, there was some talks of him maybe becoming an MVP, being an MVP candidate. He was the number 1 player in the NFL top 100, but he finished 6th in MVP voting. So I don't think it's possible that a non-quarterback can win MVP this year unless Derrick Henry or somebody else is truly going to do something special here in this back half of the season.
Yeah, as much as I want to disagree with Brett, I mean, Derrick Henry is the best running back and best non-quarterback in football, and it's not even close. I think Derrick Henry deserves to win it. Do I think he will? Like Brett said, it's really a quarterback's award to win. So I do think, unfortunately, Derrick Henry won't win MVP. I do think he will win Offensive Player of the Year, though. I think he's clear-cut winner for that, and I don't see anybody really catching up with him.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. Derrick Henry has been stellar for the Ravens all season long. Kind of had a feeling going into the season with getting the 2 former Heisman winners in the backfield being Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And honestly, I think the only person that you could kind of throw in that conversation is Saquon Barkley, just what he's done with the Eagles. He's been able to, honestly, in my opinion, keep Nick Sirianni there at head coach and kind of just keeping his job there.
He should get an award just for that backwards hurdle.
Yeah, I mean, that's
craziest play of the year.
To that point, I will say that's been one of the plays of the year. But you mentioned the Saquon hurdle. Has there been any other plays you think of that caliber? Maybe the Garrett Wilson catch?
Garrett Wilson catch is definitely up there on Thursday night. George Pickens is always making some spectacular catches. I think Devontae Smith had a one-hander the other day. I mean, there's been a lot of electrifying plays this season in the NFL But if I had to pick one, it's definitely the backwards hurdle because that's something you see out of a video game. Yeah.
For me, I'd pick, and I don't want to be biased. I am a Commanders fan, but I'd pick the Hail Mary against the Chicago Bears. When they tipped it up in the air, shout out Tyreek Stevenson, pops it up in the air, and Noah Brown is just sitting there waiting for the ball. It was a beautiful thing, and that is why a big reason why the Commanders are 7-2. But I'd also say the Garrett Wilson and Saquon Barkley plays are probably some of the top plays as well.
Well, that's going to do it for our NFL halfway point kind of breakdown and going over the trade deadline. But don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're going to be going over the NFL Pick'em segment.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. You can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lucin, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
Welcome back to Plead Your Case, and it's time to begin the NFL Pick'em segment. I'm Benicio DeFalco. Join with me, Ryan Martin and Haley Rhine. And Haley, you're back on here due to a Jaden Daniels Hail Mary. If that wasn't the case, I would still be on here. I would have a 3-0 record, but now 1-1. It doesn't feel the best feeling. So starting off with today's slate of games, we have the Bengals versus the Ravens, divisional rivals. The Bengals being one of the surprising teams of the season. It's time to turn things on, and the Ravens on the other side being 6-3, very proven. This is a Thursday night game, a lot on the line. Martin, you're in the Lamar Jackson jersey. We'll start with you.
Of course. Well, you know my pick already. I'm going the Ravens. Lamar Jackson just seems unstoppable this season. How do you stop the guy when his passing game is all on? I mean, he's thrown for over 275 passing yards in the past 5 games. And I think he has about, I think he had 12 touchdown passes in October. I mean, he's on fire right now, and you cannot stop him. You cannot keep him in the pocket anymore. That's not even a weakness. It's crazy to say from how far he came from the past seasons. Give me the Ravens, obviously.
Yeah, for me, it pains me so much to say it, but I'm going to have to take the Ravens. I mean, it would pain me to say the Bengals too, but I just think the Ravens are the better team. There's just no doubt about it. And I don't have any confidence in the Bengals that they're going to turn it around. Joe Burrow does, and good for him. But they're running out of time, and I just don't think they have the puzzle pieces that are going to outplay the Ravens this week.
Okay, continuing on, we have the 49ers, the 4-4 49ers, not the best start, versus the 4-5 Buccaneers. The Buccaneers just losing to the Chiefs in overtime last night. Now, both of these teams, not the start I guess you could expect for the start of the season with these two teams, and two teams that are very banged up, especially in the wide receiver position. We'll start with you, Haley. Who are you liking in this one?
I like the 49ers a lot in this situation. I mean, like you said, both teams are underperforming and both have so many injuries, but I like overall the roster that the 49ers have better. But, you know, Tampa Bay is coming off of the 3-game losing streak following Monday Night Football, and potentially they might get Christian McCaffrey back, and I think if that happens, it's not 100%, but if that happens, then I think it's going to be really, really hard for the Bucs to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you, Haley. I know the defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers leaves a lot to be desired, and I get that. I've seen it firsthand when the Ravens played the Bucs, and then last week yesterday, I should say, or when they played the Chiefs. You know, they let up all those points and then let them drive down in overtime to score the game-winning touchdown. That's not ideal. But the 49ers have so many injuries, and I'm going to trust Baker Mayfield over Brock Purdy any day of the week. I know Baker doesn't have the weapons that Brock does right now, Obviously, with Mike Evans hurt, Chris Godwin out for the year. But I still think he can get it done. Cade Otton is looking like a great tight end, and I think he gets the job done.
I mean, you kind of just glaze over the fact that, yeah, they gave up a lot of points. 102 points in the last 3 games.
It's fine now.
And if their offense is getting better, though, like if they get McCaffrey back, then an offense that is getting healthier versus 102 points in the last 3 games, I like my chances with Brock Purdy over that defense any day.
That's okay. But, defenses can be so unpredictable and inconsistent. Ravens pass defense, I want to go to that. They are the worst defense in the pass defense. They only allowed like 180 passing yards to Josh Allen. So it could be any given week a team can lose and a defense can show up or not. I think that's why, and I think that Brock Purdy hasn't been having his best year this year. He's not been bad. He's good. He's a good quarterback. But I just think that the Buccaneers get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like you said, any given day could change, but 3 games in a row, it hasn't changed.
It's got to break
yet.
sometime. It's got to break at some point.
It hasn't been yet, so I don't know that I'm not very confident that it's going to be this weekend.
That's fair.
Continuing on, we have kind of 2 tales of opposite teams here. We have the 7-2 Bills with the MVP front runner to this point, or one of them, you could say, Josh Allen, alongside with Lamar Jackson. Let's not freak out now. Let's not freak out now.
Come on now.
And then on the other hand, you have the Colts. They have a young quarterback in Anthony Richardson who might not be the starter the rest of the season. They might go in the direction of Joe Flacco, someone you're familiar with. So since you're so familiar with Joe Flacco,
might as well go first.
Who are you liking this one?
Man, I want to pick Flacco so badly, but I cannot. After watching this past game, Joe Flacco I couldn't believe it. He looked like a rookie out there. He was taking sacks. He looked like he was just afraid to throw the ball down the field, and when he did, it was just terrible. I mean, he couldn't move the ball down the field at all. So that makes me a little bit worried, and I'm no more confident if Anthony Richardson comes in. I'm not confident at all, so I'll take the Bills.
Yeah, despite all of the injuries that the Bills have been dealing with coming off of this past game with Smoot and Cooper, Benford and Coleman, all of them, they're all injured now. I still want to take the Bills because a stat that stood out to me is Indianapolis averages nearly 150 rushing yards per game. That is the second highest in the NFL. And, James Cook had a slow game last week versus the Dolphins, but I think he's going to have a massive game this week against that rush defense. So, and I think Allen is just absolutely dominating this league. He is in his prime, back to his prime. And I think that, I can't say that the Bills are going to lose to the Colts. I just don't trust the quarterback situation that the Colts have. And I don't think the Bills or the Colts are going to be able to stop the Bills.
Continuing on, we have 2 of the most surprising teams, especially in the right department, being the 6-2 Steelers going against the 7-2 Commanders. Who would have thought this Commanders team would be sitting where they're sitting at currently in the season, being the top of their division? We'll start with you, Haley. Who do you like in this one?
I got to ride with my boys. I got to go to the Steelers. And I know Ryan's going to tear me apart, but I have to. I think it is going to be a super close game. These are 2 of the better teams right now, but I think both of them have a lot to prove because both of them haven't really played playoff teams. They haven't really won games that they were supposed to win. They won games that they needed to win, that they were supposed to. And so I think with the Steelers' schedule turning around, they have got a lot to prove. This second half is crucial. It is a brutal second half for the Steelers. I think that the Steelers defense is going to have to stop Daniels and McLaurin, and I think there's a good chance that they do.
I just don't think they'll stop Jaden Daniels. He's obviously Offensive Rookie of the Year. Nobody better than him that's a rookie right now. He's just putting up numbers that we haven't seen from a rookie quarterback. And honestly, I don't think that T.J. Watt can stop him. I know he'll probably, he'll probably get a sack and a strip sack or something like that. But I'm going to take the Commanders. They just traded for Marshawn Lattimore. I think he's a shutdown cornerback. That's what I was most afraid of for the Commanders is their secondary, so I think they improved.
Final game, the game of the week this week being the Lions versus the Texans, 2 of the best teams in the league. Who do you like in this one, Ryan?
Give me the Lions. I mean, the Texans are so decimated by their injuries to the receiver group. I hope Nico Collins comes back soon so we can see what that team will look like. But just right now, I got to take the Lions. They look unstoppable. They look like the best team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree here. C.J. Stroud he's in his sophomore slump, and if Nico Collins is back, I still don't think that is enough to really help Stroud out. I mean, now with down Diggs and perhaps Collins, depending on this week, I just don't think that the Texans are doing what the Texans should be doing. And like you said, like Zadarius Smith now, a good team goes in and trades for a player that they need. And with Aiden Hutchinson out, they went and got Zadarius Smith, and that is a good team to me. And I think the Lions are Goff is just incredible, and I just think that they're on another level of football, so it'd be hard to pick the Texans.
This Texans and Lions game will be worth 2 points, but that has wrapped up our NFL Pick'em segment, so don't go anywhere because when we come back, we'll be giving our NBA breakdown of the early season. Welcome back to Plead Your Case. This NBA offseason, we've seen players like Paul George and Joel Embiid publicly come out and say that they won't be playing back-to-backs this season. And Kawhi Leonard is one of the players that's most known for missing valuable time due to load management during the season. Now, I got to ask you guys, is load management justifiable or is it just hurting the integrity of the game? We'll start with you, Brett.
There's always the argument from the fan that sits at his desk and works 9 to 5 that's like, oh, what if I call my boss and say, oh, I'm taking off because of load management? I mean, you're not doing any physical labor though, so how can you even make that argument? You're just sitting at a desk 9 to 5. So load management, I would say it is not really that justifiable, but I'll give a little story here. I attended a game last season. It was the Celtics and the Wizards. Very late season. Wizards were already eliminated. Celtics were basically on the brink of clinching the number 1 seed. They decided to sit 3 of their starters, the Celtics did, Derek Wyatt, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis, and fans were upset. I was upset. But maybe those rest days ended up being beneficial because that team won the championship, and all 3 of those guys were key pieces to that championship run. So load management could pay off in the long run, as it did with the Celtics, but that's only one team, and that's only one scenario. So the only thing it can do for individual players is protect their health and having like injuries linger and stuff. But it can only help one team in the long run in terms of winning a championship.
As much as I want to disagree with Brett, I can't. I mean, loaded management, I don't think it's justifiable at all. You are a superstar player for a reason. Without you being on the court, like a LeBron James or Steph Curry or James Harden, whoever it is, without those players being on the court, it's hard for their team to really win, and because they are a big factor in their team's success. So I don't agree with it. And it's, as Brett also mentioned, from a fan standpoint, it sucks because you paid really good money to go see those guys play, and when they're sitting out or due to not even being injured just because they need rest, it's kind of like, why did I go to this game? What was the point of going to this? Did I even, I probably could have sold the tickets and done something else. So I don't agree with it. I think it sucks for not only the team, but for the fans as well. I think you're just really shooting yourselves in the foot, both as a player and for your team and for the fans watching you.
On the other hand, we have players like Anthony Edwards. Some may say he could be the face of the league one day, and they're definitely starting to push that as the season's been going on. And Jason Tatum's been one of the guys that's talked about load management a couple times. Do you think those young guys kind of coming out and talking about it is going to help the case at all, and we can start to see it start to go away?
I mean, I'm glad that they've done what they've done, and I mean, I respect guys like Mikal Bridges, Chet Holmgren, Peyton Pritchard, guys that are like taking that initiative to make sure they play in all 82 games of the year. I mean, it's cool to see guys play throughout the whole season. But I mean, guys speaking out on it, yeah, I think that could help the initiative go away and possibly get more players back on the court and less angry fans. So I mean, it would definitely be cool to see. But I mean, for now, it looks like the players' health is what's prioritized first.
I'm going to say it's a maybe for me. I think it depends on the player because, like, if it was like a Chet Holmgren or something like that, I think people would listen. But then on the other hand, you have a bunch of younger players that really haven't done much in the league that may be tweeting this out, and everybody's like, oh, he tweeted it out, okay, whatever. So I think it's in the middle. I think they really just have to sit there and look at – I know it's a long season, 82 games. You do have an all-star break in the middle of that. But I do really think you have to think from a personal standpoint as a player, what can I do to help my team out? And is sitting out really the best thing I can do to help my team? And I think it should be stopped. Like you said, I'm glad the players were speaking out about it, and I do hope it gets changed here soon.
So continuing on, the Cavs and OKC Thunder are both undefeated in this season, with the Cavs being 8-0, OKC being 7-0. On the other hand, the Bucks are 1-6, just the second year with Damian Lillard adding them to their roster, just a couple years removed of that NBA Finals run that we saw them end up winning, defeating the Phoenix Suns in that run. So with some of those teams being named, what team has surprised you the most, or maybe what player has surprised you most this season? We'll start with you, Wyatt.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to choose the Los Angeles Lakers, and here's my reasoning. They are currently 4-3. They lost to Detroit last night, but they have a first-time head coach in J.J. Redick, who was a former player as well. Currently, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, those guys are currently healthy. If they stay healthy, I think they can go far. They won the play-in tournament last year. I wouldn't be surprised if they won it again this year. J.J. Redick is proving that even though he doesn't really have much of a head coaching experience, that you can still win with the players you have. And he's mixing in like Bronny James here and there. He's throwing, I forget some of the other players they have, but he's throwing in a bunch of different players, giving them playing time, and you're really seeing the results. But so I think the Lakers have been really shocking this year, especially because they do have a new coach for the first time.
Well, first off, I wanted to say congrats to the Los Angeles Lakers for winning the play-in tournament last year. I hope they hung a banner because that means absolutely nothing, by the way. And they've lost 3 out of their last 4 games, and people are already beginning to question Anthony Davis's health. And it's a matter of time before J.J. Redick is questioned as well, being the first-year head coach that he is. But for my surprising team, I've got the Golden State Warriors and what they've been doing. They're 6-1 so far this year. Could be 6-2 when this episode comes out because they've got a showdown tonight against the Boston Celtics, defending champs. But one of their players in particular, the Warriors, Buddy Hield, he's been playing amazing this year, and he's been coming off the bench, averaging 22 a night. And this has been without Steph Curry as well. The Warriors winning a lot of these games, and Steph returned last night. It was another Warrior win, and it's not just Steph, it's not just Hield. There's a lot of role guys doing their jobs as well. Jonathan Kuminga has been really good this season, as well as Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski, and it's not just them either. There's already those established guys, those Kevon Looney's, Draymond Green's, Andrew Wiggins's, all those guys. I mean, there's been a lot of people stepping up this year for the Warriors. They're a deep team, and they've got a test, though, coming up with Boston, Cleveland, OKC, and Dallas being their next 4 games. They are going to be tested. They started off hot last year. They started off hot again this year. Last year, they fizzled out. They ended up losing in the play-in tournament when Klay Thompson shot 0 for 10 in the play-in game. But this year, I think if they can manage it early on in the season, they can make a deep run.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. Sorry, Wyatt.
No, I was just going to say, but you do talk about some of the key players that they have. How about Draymond Green? I know he's been saying he's going to try to stay on the court, but he has not been on the court consistently. So for the Golden State, I mean, yes, he's a great player. He's a key player, but can he stay on the court long enough to help them win?
Well, that's why they've got guys like Kevon Looney and Trace Jackson-Davis and other guys that can step up and fill the void when Draymond's out. And I mean, Draymond, he's had a pretty down season so far, but I think it's because there's other guys that can take the weight off their shoulders that are stepping up into these roles and playing even better.
I guess you could say one of the biggest surprising factors for the Warriors is you mentioned Steph Curry only returning, just making his return. But even when Curry's played, his stats haven't wowed you all season long, and they haven't been like the Curry-type numbers we're used to. But my biggest surprise is it's got to be the Milwaukee Bucks, just with how they've looked this season. Sometimes they're not even in these games, especially with acquiring Damian Lillard. I know Giannis hasn't played in every game so far, but just Damian Lillard, he came off hot, especially the first game. He looked like, 2019 Damian Lillard when he was on the Trailblazers. But to start off, the Bucks have not looked good at all. And you mentioned the Lakers. Now I got to ask you, are early season success stories indicate long-term success, or should we temper expectations? And I think the Lakers are one of the prime examples of this.
I think they should temper expectations. While I do think the Lakers are doing good right now, I don't see Anthony Davis and LeBron James staying healthy the entire season. I think LeBron does pull, like what we mentioned earlier, kind of sitting out just for rest purposes. I mean, he is 38 years old, but still, if you're producing at that high of a level, I think you should be playing at least almost every night, even if you don't play all the minutes you want, at least play some. So I know they're off to a great start this season, and I know JJ Redick has gotten them to where they need to be, but I don't see them having that much success in the long run. I think they are going to be a team that has to play in the play-in tournament to get into the playoffs and be like a 7th or 8th seed. So.
For the Warriors, I mean, they've got the Boston Celtics tonight. This could be a revenge game for the Warriors. I don't know if anyone remembers last year or not, but Boston beat the brakes off of the Warriors in this game. I mean, it wasn't even close. I think Steve Kerr's going to want revenge, and I mean, that could even be part of the reason why he didn't play Jason Tatum in the Olympics, because he was still salty at Jason Tatum for absolutely destroying him in that regular season game. I think it was like a 50-point differential, but it's a tough test for the Warriors coming up. They're in Boston, they're in Cleveland, they're in OKC, and they're at Dallas. I mean, those are 4 of the top teams in the league, so we'll see if the Warriors can make it through this harsh stretch here and possibly contend for a title later on in the season.
Yeah, funny enough, you mentioned the Olympics. I completely forgot about that. And then Steve Kerr not even going out and getting Jaylen Brown or even asking him to join the team. So the rivalry has stayed true, and it's good to see those rivalries kind of being brought back into the NBA altogether. But I got to ask you guys, if you guys are sitting there in attendance watching the game, would you rather see a deep three-pointer by a guy like Steph Curry, Trae Young, one of those guys, or a slam dunk? This could be a posterized, or this could be a fast break, just any type of dunk that would get the crowd on its feet. Which one would you rather see go with you, Wyatt?
See, I like both, but I'm going to go with the deep three. And the reason I say that, you don't see it as much. I know Brett's shaking his head, but I compare it to the All-Star game. You look at the All-Star game. The All-Star game is legitimately just a dunk contest. They literally just try to be as fancy as possible, do the craziest dunks you've ever seen. I think a deep three, besides maybe Steph Curry, seeing somebody like Anthony Edwards hit a deep three, or seeing somebody like Donovan Mitchell hitting one, is something I think would be really exciting to see, because it's people that you wouldn't expect to shoot it. And even if it wasn't a buzzer beater or anything, just seeing somebody attempt it, I think would be much cooler than seeing somebody get posterized. I mean, we've seen it 100 times. It doesn't get old, because, I mean, everybody comes up with a unique dunk every once in a while, but I do think it is cooler to see a deeper three than a dunk.
For me, I mean, just the thrill of seeing people rock the rim and get up high and slam it home. I mean, that's more exciting to me. I mean, I love seeing guys get put on a poster. And one guy in particular, if I had to pick a dunker to watch, I would definitely look up some Blake Griffin highlights. I mean, I opened TikTok this morning, saw some Blake Griffin dunking highlights on my timeline. It really got me hyped. It got me excited, and I don't think deep threes can do that, because they don't have that pure level of excitement like somebody slamming it home with a lot of force does at the rim. So for me, it's a slam dunk all the way.
Yeah, you talked about what you guys liked more, but now what would you say is more impressive, being able to shoot from that range, or having having the length to get up that high? And sometimes, like I said, it could be a posterizer, so you are going to be jumping over someone in that case. So what would you say is more impressive?
It's hard. I'd still go with the shot, only because I feel like you can hit game winners a lot more. You can also put your team in a great situation to win a game with a deep three. So I think deep threes are better. Like I said, is it always kind of cool to see somebody get posterized? Yes. And I'm not opposed to a dunk, but I think seeing a deep three can not only win you the game, but put you in a better position to win the game. So I would choose shooting slightly over the dunks once again.
Yeah, if we're talking about more impressive, I'd say three-point shooting, because sometimes athleticism can be a gift. So whereas practicing threes over and over again, like 500 shots a day, that takes practice, that takes repetition. Not saying that dunking doesn't, but I mean, I think shooting is definitely harder to do.
Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of Plead Your Case. For all things Plead Your Case, make sure to stay tuned in to WCTV's YouTube channel.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.